Happy Independence Anniversary, everyone. On October 1, 1960, a great nation, Nigeria, made a bold step on self-determination. Today, we reflect on 64 years of this journey, the early days of agricultural abundance, the period of oil boom, and now the push for diversification and sustainable growth. Nigeria's economic story has been intriguing, albeit with a lot of lessons. Tonight, we spotlight the Nigerian economy under the theme, Nigeria's Challenging Economy Strategies for Recovery. And you may ask, why challenging? The data will tell us more. But as you can tell, I'm not alone right here. Ladi is one of those right here in the room.
Yes, Eni, happy independence. So every Nigerian, home and abroad, and definitely it's been 64 long years. And I guess we can call Nigeria a grandfather, you know, at this point. We should be birthing other nations. Definitely, we're definitely old enough for that. But the conversations today will be as interactive as possible, and we have an incredible audience right here. Shout out to every dogged Nigerian going out there, getting your daily bread, regardless of the price of fuel or the price of food. But we have an amazing audience here. Put your hands together for yourself, because it's not easy to be, you know, where we are today. So definitely, we're going to be taking questions from this audience and also from social media for incredible panelists that will be breaking down the issues at this point. It's not about the problems. We're looking for solutions.
Yes,
so right here, I'm going to be giving out notes so you can send your questions in. And definitely, it's going to definitely be a joyful ride as we search for the solutions to economic problems.
We certainly do need those solutions, Ladi. And as you mentioned, we do have a house full of panelists also right here. They will obviously be contributing to that. So it's going to be a robust, how many hours? You don't want to miss any moment of it. So let's start right off by giving you the picture of our economy at this time. So I'll just walk over to where we have that data. I know you live with this reality every day. We talk about inflation. It's not just a number. You are feeling it in your pockets. So, but let's just bring that back home at this time. So we start with what we have right now as headline inflation in our country. Yes, in October 2023, about this time last year, 27.33%. By August, we had 32.15%. And note, this is after 2 consecutive drop in the numbers. So 2.25% increase in spite of that drop that we've had. That's inflation. It's not just a number. Check your purchasing power. You would see that reflecting the drop in the value. Then we also have, in response to this, the Central Bank and the Monetary Policy Authority Committee have been very busy. We've seen very hawkish stance to tame inflation, because it is believed that there'll be no development when there's high inflation. So we've seen interest rates really being increased. So by January, we had seen interest rate at 18.75%. By September, it's gone up to 27.25%. That means if you want to borrow, you have to pay more interest. And what does this do? It reduces the rate of borrowing. Members of the real sector feel the pinch. I'm sure you hear that from them. So it's been about 8.5% since the present CBN governor got into power. There's been increase on interest rate, about 8.5%. Then there's the debt. Yes, because debt servicing is a major one. We've seen borrowings from the government to fund the budget. And so we've seen debt stock in the country has been a topic in the last 12 months. According to Debt Management Office, the debt in Nigeria is about 97.34 trillion naira. There you have it, in dollars, because some of them are in dollars, so it's more realistic to have them in dollars. About 108.23 billion naira as of December 2023, and that's 146% higher than 39.56% at the end of 2022. A worrying one, because it means even with the money, that the revenue that comes from crude and hopefully the non-oil sector, it will be used to service trade. In spite of this, we've seen our population grow, and I think Ladi has the numbers for that.
Yep. Definitely, we have those numbers, and you know, when you talk about growth and development, definitely you need to also watch how your population, you know, is growing at this time. So definitely, I'm going to be bringing you details of how we're going, you know, when it comes to growth of Nigeria's population. If you look at the data, we're going to dig deep into that data now. We can see that Nigeria's population definitely has increased a lot from when we gained independence. If you look at our population number now, 232 million right there of Nigerians, and urban population there takes about roughly 53% of that, you know, population. And if you put that together with our economic growth rate, then you see that, you know, if we're growing at about 2.5% every year, and we have economic growth rate of, say, about 3% or less than 3%, then you see when you take that out from your economic growth and your population growth rate, you see that there's not enough, you know, growth for the economy. And definitely that plays into, you know, the resources available. That's for every Nigerian. If you also look at the population growth rate for 2023, 2.52%, that's what we have. And we see the major facts of Nigeria's population growth. We're seeing we're growing at a 2.4 to 2.5% yearly. And if you've been following the data with our GDP report, the last one we got was about 3-something%. So we see we should be growing even more economically than our population. We also see Nigeria ranking number 6 in the list of countries and dependencies by, you know, population. So definitely there's a lot to, you know, do, you know, when it comes to matching, you know, our growth rate with our economic growth rate, so that every Nigerian can have, you know, a good quality of life. So definitely a lot to unpack there, and
yes,
you know, we need to see how we can balance growth, population growth, and economic growth.
Certainly, Ladi, we need to see how we can balance that. But in spite of this, Nigeria has been managing its affairs for 64 years, 25 years of unbroken democracy, and to many, this should be celebrated. We have some goodwill messages now. First, from the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, and then talking about population and the health of the people, we have the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mr. Muhammad Ali Patti, and then we'll be back.
It is our 64th anniversary, and to congratulate all of us on this upcoming independence, and to say that it is a very, very important milestone, and one that we should really take pride in. As I said earlier, 25 years of unbroken democratic governance is no mean feat, given the relative youth of Nigeria as a nation. So kudos all round to all of us, and I think the charge to all of us is to maintain and improve on what we've got through determination, through commitment, and through collaboration with each other as Nigerians, as human beings.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had set out a vision for a prosperous country that is people-oriented. And within that vision, the health and well-being of Nigeria's population had been a very significant part of that agenda that he had laid out. Over the last 1 year, we worked hard to establish the building blocks for revamping and transforming Nigeria's health system. And there are very concrete things that we had done. If you recall, on December 12, 2023, we signed a compact between the federal government, 36 state government, and 17 development partners, the Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. Research and development is also part of that. Clinical research capacity development. We have built the governance infrastructure for that, a research ethics committee, a research committee that comprises Nigerians in the diaspora and Nigerians at home, and a clinical research capacity program that we're doing in collaboration with Purpose Africa. It hasn't yet started, but that's our vision, what we're trying to do, so that Nigeria becomes a contributor to global knowledge. And with good science, we know that the science can then be commercialized over time, and that will contribute to Nigeria's GDP, will create jobs to Nigerians. So in sum, this administration has done over a one-year period really significant laying of the foundation, and we're seeing the beginnings of that transformation, which, if sustained, will make Nigeria a very important player in health in Africa, but also globally.
So that's it, some reason to celebrate and to look at the brighter side of it from both ministers. We'll have more messages, obviously, as we go on the program, but let's delve into the reason we're here, which is to get a solution. And we know that, well, they say a hungry man is an angry man. There's nothing you can do. So the first thing will be, let's talk about how we can feed ourselves. And it's no longer news that Nigeria can feed itself. But why are we not feeding ourselves? We've seen food inflation hit 37%, and that's after the drop. So to discuss this, this panel, we'll start with His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, right here, Dr. Kadri Hamzat. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Independence to you.
Same to you.
And then also we have, well, all the way from Kaduna State. He came just for this purpose, and we really appreciate that. Commissioner of Agriculture for Kaduna State, Mr. Murtala Dabo. Thank you so much. And thank God for a safe trip.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence.
Wish you the same.
Thank you.
Well, not too far from Lagos, but still traveled here from Osun State. We have the Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security. We have Otumba Tola Fasheru also joining us. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me here. Happy Independence.
And wish you the same. And to give us, well, another view of all and knowing the challenge you've been having in ensuring food security in country is someone who brings the security perspective to it. He's a former AIG Zone 2 covering Lagos and Ogun State. We have Dr. Bala Hassan. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, and happy Independence to you.
Nice for having me. Happy Independence to you and all Nigerians.
All right, so let's start with Deputy Governor. Deputy Governor, I know that well, Lagos State will have a lot to boast. I live in Lagos, so I do hear and see you have your Sunday market, you have the mail and all of that. But I guess we cannot really celebrate that if Nigerians are still hungry. So Lagos cannot stand on its own. So while Lagos would beat its chest to say they have done a lot, we would ask how much impact is the lots in Lagos making in the life of Nigerians as a whole?
Thank you very much. So I think it's important to understand that from position of Lagos, so we occupy 0.4% of the landmass of this country, but we populate our state with 10% of Nigerians. So what that means is the density is very high. Because we are the smallest in terms of land, but we are the most populous. What that means is there's not enough land for agriculture. There is some, but there's not enough. So when you compare it to a state like Niger, Niger is about 7.9% of the population, of the land mass of Nigeria, compared to 0.4%. So Ogun State is about 4 times bigger than us in terms of land, but the population is 3 million. So what that means is that the land available for agriculture in Lagos. So what do we then decide to do? Because we know we don't have enough land. So this country, for example, consumes 40 million bags of rice a year, okay? But Lagos, you can be sure, takes about 30% of that. So what that means for us, that's why we say, okay, let's build a rice mill that can process it. And then we have arrangement with other states in terms of partnership. We have land in Osun State. We have agreement with Niger State, but because of the insurgency, the paddies were not produced enough. So that's part of the challenge that we have. So for Lagos, our area is training people, empowering the people that actually get involved in agriculture. A lot of our women across Badagry to Ikorodu. So we identified our area of where we have competitive advantage. Fisheries, for example. Tomato, surprisingly. So tomato. We have an area in Badagry, Dadilui, they call the place. It's an island. We have 200 women farming, 200 hectares of land there. You need to go there, it's extensive. So what we do is how do we empower them? How do we make it easier for them in terms of production? But most importantly, we also now we are building a logistic hub in Emota, the biggest in this part of the world. What that does for us is it allows us to track what comes to Lagos. So Lagos, interestingly, we slaughter cows like 3,000 every day. So where are they coming from? How can we track it? How can we make sure that today, if anything happens, our veterinary doctors slaughter them and burn them off to prevent diseases? But we need to do better. What that means is, so if it's coming from Kano, for example, we can say, oh, Kano, you have this problem with your car. So stop it, let's help us treat it, and then we stop it. So the same thing, and then we'll be able to store grains for 9 months. So let's say production stops around the world. We should be able to store for 9 months and see what we're doing. So that's what we are building. And then we are building small markets, like the one in Idioro, where you and me can go. What that does for us is it gives us data. So today, we know that within 4 months, we know that those women and men selling in that market makes 2.1 billion naira. So we know that information. We also know that because they are now aggregating their produce and everything, the cost of logistics has gone down by 40% because they can get a trailer and then they move in. Also because there is dry storage, there is wet storage, and so on. They can actually store their products. So tomatoes stay longer because it can be stored there if it's not sold. So that's what Lagos intends to do. Partnership with other states that has the land. After all, people come to Lagos to build their houses. We can also go there to go and farm in other states. And then two, make sure that we have enough market to aggregate and also reduce the effect of the middlemen. Now, middlemen, they are doing a great job. It's a business. But it also allows sometimes for price gouging. So what we're trying to do is at the hub, there will be a trading floor where people, consumers, small middlemen can actually get products that gets directly to the market so that it reduces the prices and then we are able to bulk them. So that's what we are doing, training a lot of, in Araga we are training rice production, but because we don't have enough land, we cannot produce enough to feed our meal. So we need to rely on other states, for example, to make sure that we get that.
Deputy Governor, I'm sure there'll be some questions as to while all of these laudable plans and projects are going on, how much of the population or residents of Lagos actually know about it and participate, you know, in it? Because having the great project is one thing, but sometimes it seems there's a gap between the government and the people.
Well, so, you know, the third president of the United States, and you can imagine that's 18-something. Thomas Jefferson says, no nation will develop when citizens are not well informed. And it goes both ways. So, for example, if you ask in this audience, what is the website of Lagos State? You understand? The information are there. The information is there. So, for us in this state, every year, because for government, everything is about budgeting. So your development starts from your budget. To do our budget, we go across every sector of the state. We go to villages, we go to Ekpe, we go to Badagry, we meet people. Where we actually get information. What do you want us to do in your community? So at the end of the day, it might come to 7 trillion, but our budget is 2-point-something trillion. We know that we can't do everything, but at least people have a feeding into the information, the things that we want to do. So we actually communicate with people, you understand? So the issue for us is how do we communicate with our people better? So we need to find a way to do better. But in terms of communication, we are actually giving out those information. And there is nothing that we do that is not on our website, that we don't push out newspapers and so on and so forth. So how do we do it? Interestingly, even in 2024, you know that we still go to market and make noise on microphone today in Lagos. We still do that. So that if you are not reading the newspaper, if you are not on social media, if you don't listen to radio, if you can't go to our website, we still go to people. So, but, you know, if you have any idea how we can do it better, please. But to be honest, because we know that it's more important for our citizens to understand what we are doing. Because a lot of ideas actually come up, even from citizens. We have a citizen engagement platform where we engage citizens and people come up with fantastic ideas that we implement. But we need citizens to also know exactly what we are doing. Because a lot is going on in Lagos, believe it or not.
Yeah, so I guess it's also on the citizens to dig deep and look for the information. And I'm sure we do have an audience here, so at least we know that this group of individuals in Lagos are now informed. Let's go to Kaduna State. Now, the North is known. I mean, it's no longer, there's no question about it. Food comes from there. Talk about tomatoes. Every part of the North has something. But at the end of the day, post-harvest losses, about 50% of that is lost. Value chain, adding value to that, preservation and storage, those things seem not to be getting enough attention. As a government, do you worry about this? Do you do anything about this?
Sure. Well, good evening, viewers, once again. You know, we're celebrating the 64th anniversary of the country as a nation today. And you'll be shocked, in the 60s, agriculture contributed as high as 57% to the country's GDP and over 75% of the country's foreign exchange earnings. So where are we today? And the reason is simple. The suffering, the economic stress is simply because we abandoned agriculture. And as we are now, as a strategy for recovery, what we need to do is to really refocus, which I believe the government is taking the right steps, by refocusing on agriculture. Because once productivity grows there, is the only way, because you need, first of all, to ensure food security. Food sufficiency is key. Without it, I mean, the stress will be enormous, which we all are feeling right now. And, you know, the import bills today on food is something that is of serious concern. As of 2023, we imported $2 billion worth of wheat. Dairy, $1.5 billion. I mean, it's unbelievable.
These are crops we can actually...
we can produce. We can. And raw sugar, over $700 million. And we have the land. We have the human resource. You understand? Palm oil, over $600 million.
So, Commissioner, what stops us from, I mean, we have the land, we have the climate, we have the good weather, we have the soil. What's stopping us?
That is why the only way out is for us to refocus, because we have the population, a very youthful population, over 200 million Nigerians now. So even to feed ourselves is an issue. So as a state, I will tell you confidently that Kaduna today, we are leading in maize production. We're leading in ginger. We're leading in tomatoes. Kellogg's is in Lagos, but 90% of what, I mean, the source of their raw materials, the maize, is from Kaduna State. You understand? And so as a government, we are deliberate. The governor is now pushing, because a lot most of this production comes from our smallholder farmers. But you know, they suffer from lack of quality inputs. That's why as a government, the focus now is to support them. We gave over 49,000 of them quality seedlings this year, and By way of fertilizer, you know, federal government has done a lot, which they must be commended for. The cost of fertilizer a bag is 43, 46,000, which, you know, is not affordable to especially the smallholder farmers. So with the support of federal government, and then as a state, we also boosted, 15,000 metric tons of fertilizer was distributed to smallholder farmers. 120,000 smallholder farmers benefited from 2 bags each from the state. What's the reason? We want to boost productivity. We want to boost production. And once you lower the cost of input, they will be encouraged to go back to farm. And that's the only way out. And look at it, cocoa. Nigeria as it's so sad that while we export almost about 400 billion worth of cocoa as of the second quarter of this year. What is shocking is that how much are we really making?
Yeah, so that's where the value, exactly.
So value addition is one critical area that we must focus on. Typically, Germany in the year 2021 imported over about $759 million worth of cocoa beans. Well, the same year, they exported $5.5 billion worth of chocolates. For us, we benefit from less than 10% of the value. So what we need to do as a people, deliberate, is that we must add value. In the Southwest, that is a mainstay here. We must add value. When we do that, we tend to gain a lot. At least by adding value, we will at least have 3 times what we used to get right now. And those are the things that put pressure on the Nigeria's currency. You see Naira devaluing by the day. We have no reason importing all those things. Wheat, rice, and at least for rice now, we can beat our chest and say, yes, we can feed ourselves. But then,
but we still have imported rice in Nigeria.
Just observed, paddy is now an issue.
And so we still have imported rice in the country, in circulation.
Because, you know, when we rely on rain-fed agriculture, it's a problem. For us to ramp it up, we need to work aggressively in building our irrigation infrastructure such that we'll do all year-round farming. It's the only way to go. Over 200 million Nigerians, it's a huge population to feed. If we can focus on that, which means whatever we do during the rain-fed, dry season, we can even try and make effort to do 50% of what we get during the that will be a huge boost in the productivity and then perhaps prosperity and livelihoods of our farmers. That's the only way.
We would also like to hear from you on dealing with post-harvest losses. It's a major one. Yes. So even when we boost the production...
Yes, to address that, you know, as a state, we have about close to 200 warehouses, but a lot of them in state of dilapidation. That's why this year, we went into partnership with private sector, Star Agri, India. And what we hope to achieve here is, 1, they will upgrade the warehouses. As our farmers harvest, there is a safe place, great, clean place to keep it. And it will even enhance the value because that will bring market access. And it will even bring access to finance. That's the partnership that we have signed with Star Agri. And that way, when they harvest, they have somewhere to take it to in good condition, and they will not be under pressure to dispose of it on harvest. Like to minimize it was mostly the middlemen that smile to the bank.
So middlemen again, we hear that. We heard that from Deputy Governor. Now we're hearing
August, September, October will be harvest, like for maize and most of the other crops. The middlemen will come and mop up. 3-4 months down the line, they will be making over 100% when the farmers don't get the real value. So with this partnership, what we hope to achieve is, provide proper warehousing, where warehouse receipt system will come into play. As a farmer on harvest, you can take your produce to a safe warehouse, and When you keep it there, you'll be issued receipts, which you can go and access financing of whatever percentage of it from a bank.
All right, Dr. Dabo, we just have to pause there. We need to take a break. And we know that insecurity, I mean, all of this beautiful, but when we go to the nitty-gritty of it, we see insecurity as a challenge. And then also, how much of mechanized farming is Nigeria actually practicing? We'll talk about that after this break. You're welcome back. You're still watching a special Channels Forum, and we're spotlighting Nigeria's economy as we celebrate 64 years of independence. And just before the break, we had started a conversation on how to ensure food security. We've spoken to the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, and we've heard efforts and plans by the Deputy Governor by Lagos State. And then we went to Kaduna State, where we see a high production, but how do we deal with value chain production? How do we deal with adding value? And how do we deal with post-harvest losses? Now let's head to Osun State. We know that Osun State boasts of mechanized farming, but how impactful has that been? We have the commissioner here, Otumba Tola Fasheru, Commissioner of Agriculture and Food Security in Osun State. I've had conversations with you on the program a lot of times, and you've shared the big plan, you know, of Osun State on mechanized farming, and you have tractors and all of that, but I guess it's beyond having those mechanized or equipment. It's about productivity. Can I ask how much production has increased since you started this journey of acquiring your equipment?
Thank you very much, Ini, and happy independence to everyone. When my governor, the executive governor of Osun State, Dr. Asiwaju, Senator Nuruddin Jackson Ademola Adeleke, took over the administration in Osun State. One of his key focal points in his 5-point agenda was agri-industrialization. And he was clear about it in the ways to achieve it. First of all, was to ensure that we have engagement with the farmers, know what their issues are, know what, give them that confidence that we are there for them, and we're interested in ensuring food security, food sufficiency, and ensuring affordable, making food affordable in the state. And of course, the days of cutlasses and O's, how far can we go with that? When we got there, we practically saw no tractors, no equipment on the ground. But he said, we can work this way. And he went ahead to do that investment in mechanization. And that was a bold step. I mean, committing huge budget on it, and even going beyond that in the budget for 2025, is also said, yes, that will go further. Osun State is a state that has comparative advantage in agriculture. And of course, you know the strategic nature and the historical positioning of Osun State. I mean, that's where you have Ife, the cradle of the Yoruba race. And Yoruba people are agri people. And so we cannot afford to lag behind. And also, going by what Baba Awolowo did, he said, yes, we cannot be behind. So every time we're looking at what we can do, we have comparative advantage in cocoa, in cashew nuts, in oil palms, and then arable crops like cassava, like maize, you know, and then of course vegetables. And indeed, looking at fishery and livestock. And each of these areas, he has paid attention to them, ensuring that no aspect is lacking. Supporting each of these farmers across the board, the cocoa farmers, engaging them. Of course, he talked about the cocoa rebate, the revamping of the cocoa history and the cocoa positioning of the state. Osun State is the #3 in Nigeria. And what we're doing is to look at what Ivory Coast is doing. Ivory Coast is the largest producer of cocoa in the world with about 2 million tons. Largest producer of cashews with about 1 million tons. These commodities are the commodities that are actually supporting the economy of that country.
So, Otumba, do tell us, I mean, what plan do you have? Do you have meetings with the farmers? Do you encourage more people to come into that space? Let's hear the plan.
I'm just moving. Basically, we have the farmers associations. Each one of them, from cocoa association to cashew association to cassava to maize, we engage with them from time to time and give them high quality seedlings, high yield seedlings, hybrid seedlings. We work with our own staff and with CREAM, the Cocoa Research Institute, to ensure that we give them the best, the seedlings. I was in Cambodia earlier in the year, also to see what they're doing, particularly in cashew. They've kind of moved to the second position now. And from what they're doing now, you have about, the average in the world is about 400 kg per hectare. They're doing like 2.5 per hectare. That's what we're trying to do in Osun, raising the best of seedlings and getting it to these farmers. Each one of them, the vegetable seedlings, we're getting it to the farmers, supporting them, okay, to ensure that they have the right, because the first thing is this: what kind of material are your people doing? One of the problems we have in Nigeria is per hectare, the productivity is low. And we have said that we're going to change the narrative. We're giving them the best planting materials, beyond the mechanization that we're supporting them with, okay? And then with fertilizers, okay? I mean, we must give kudos to the federal government. They supported the state with fertilizers. And we also, as a state, have, added our own efforts to it. And so these fertilizers also ensuring that it gets to the right people, the right farmers, okay, so that they can use it, and in a short time we can begin to see the change, and then herbicides, okay, these are things that will help, in the fishery aspect. We give them fingerlings. We also provide, you're talking about post-harvest losses, how we can bring that as low as possible. You rightly said it, about 50% of what we produce is wasted, is lost, even before getting to the market. All of that, we're looking at it. We're also working on improving our data. So I was also talking about giving them the storage, I mean, those in fishery and all that, to support them, okay? All right. And then the data, very important that we know where our farmers are and what they require, what kind of size they have. Whether we like it or not, the subsistence farmer, they still produce about...
Yeah, the smallholder farmers.
Yeah, the smallholders, we still need to support them. All right. While also, we're also making it easy for investors, large-scale agriculturists to come into the state and also support the work. Then also engage our youth by such connection. All right,
let us bring in Dr. Hassan now. Dr. Hassan, while the state's governments have these beautiful plans, we know that insecurity is a real threat, not just in the north, in the south. We've heard of farmers being killed, and we hear a lot of things being said about it. But would you say, from your experience, that we're doing enough to get the farmers back to the farm because of, I mean, you have issues of insecurity, you have the cattle rearers and the farmers' conflict. That is still a problem.
Well, I know the security agencies have been trying their best to make sure that our farmers go back to land. But definitely, there is still much to be done. Because if you look at, especially if you look at the Northwest, which produces most of the food they bring to this part of the country and the cattle, many farmers for the past 2, 3, 4 years have not been able to go to farm. You go to farm, you'll be kidnapped, they will ask for ransom, and even when you go after planting, when you come to harvest, these bandits will come and cause problem and kill them, and so that has disrupted a lot of farming activities. But I know I worked in that part of the country about 11 years ago in Sokoto. Most of these things started in Zamfara area, where it has blossomed to other, like 6 states in the Northwest. As we are talking, some researchers have shown that you have more than 10,000 bandits around that 6 states, about 120 gangs. But good enough, of recent, the security forces have been making some efforts. At least 15 gang leaders of those bandits have been killed. Kachala Habibu Sobobo, Sani Dangote, the one that masterminded the great train robbery of 28/3/2022 also has been killed. So if they continue in that light to get at those bandits, I think there will be no normalcy in the farms. However, the problem we have is if you attack in Zamfara, if military security force attack in Zamfara, there is tendency those bandits will move to the neighboring states. So what we are looking at is to see that the attack is done simultaneously in all the states so that they have no hiding place. Either if you attack Niger, they move to the next neighboring state. If you attack in Zamfara, they move to Katsina. If you attack in Katsina, they move to Kaduna. So it will be like a vicious cycle. But we are suggesting that the attack should be simultaneous. And also, in other, like in Borno, northeast part of the country, we would earlier suggest in our research that the creation of what we call motorcycle battalions. We don't know how practicable that is, because most of these hoodlums, they move about in motorcycles, and the villages are far from each other. So we need to increase our strategy to make sure that since the leaders of this gang have been decimated, the younger ones do not come and form other groups to come and create problems for farmers so that we get sufficient food for our country.
All right, so let's just before we get to your closing thoughts, some questions from members of the audience. And I know that they do have questions, Ladi. So,
yeah, very interesting conversations so far, and definitely we have actionable plans from this conversation. One, states should collaborate in areas of storage and logistics, reduce the number of middlemen in agriculture value chain, refocus on agriculture. Those are the actionable plans right now. But now let's get some questions. Definitely, I know this audience, this incredible audience, they've been so good. Put your hands together for yourself again. Yeah, they've been so good. And they're going to be giving us some questions. Now, I'm going to call on Mr. Tunde Banjoko. He's going to be leading the questions right now.
Good evening, everyone. Evening, everyone. My first question to our panelists this evening is, we still see a big disconnect between the farmers and the government in most states. As a practicing farmers, I can tell that authoritatively. The last time I think we felt anything was during Akinwumi Adesina, that we felt the government and the farmers working together, that we can say we have somebody in government who has data of farmers. So where we stand, there's still a big disconnect. What are we doing at our various states to make sure the farmers, the real farmers, not the photo farmers that we see in recent time, taking pictures and all that, what are we doing? That's the first one. I still see also, secondly, that most states, and I say that too, authoritatively, most states are not investing in mechanization, especially in the Southwest. I say that authoritatively because I offer that service. Most states are not investing in mechanization. And why is that? The state will still be hiring tractors, bulldozers. You can hire, but that should be to complement what you have. So that's second one. Then we still have issues where we are still being harassed for taxes for carrying produce within the states. There was a day I had to pack to fight a battle that was not mine because an old man was being harassed for loading egg. And when I accosted them, I was told we are taking revenue for our agents who had paid to the governor, to the government. Why do we still have multiple taxes? Why produce, why carrying goods?
Okay.
I think
thank you so much for that. Put your hands together for him, please. All right, we also have Mercy Ugbada. She also has questions for the panel.
Okay, good evening all.
Make it brief, please.
Yes, we know that the food inflation is worsened by terrorists having to have chased our farmers off the farm. Now, the question is to Our Excellency, the Deputy Governor. I want to ask, why are we partnering with Niger State, which is far up from Lagos? We have Ogun State, which is very close by, with vast fertile land. Because if we're going to be transporting our produce from Niger State down to Lagos, cost of transportation will definitely affects the price of goods. So I wonder why we're still looking so far off instead of us looking within. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get some responses.
Yes, I think we have our hands full already. So I would like to plead with you to please, let's have it like very short answers because we're almost out of time. So I think that we could start with the gap between farmers and the government. And I think everyone except Dr. Bala is in government. So we would like to, get your...
Well, I want to say that in Kaduna, I think there hasn't been a time like this. We truly are partnering with our smallholder farmers greatly. We currently are working on targeting yield improvement because truly their yield is far below what is expected. So we are targeting them. We don't only have the data by the name and location, we even have coordinates of their farms. That is the kind of data we're building right now. It's a work in progress, but we have gone substantially far, and we're supporting them. Like this year, we've supported them so much, with so much input. Those on the livestock, where the governor, we gave even day-old chicks to women, several women, fisheries, fingerlings, and the support has never been this, so massive.
So in Kaduna, you think there's no gap?
Partnership, no gap at all.
All right, let's hear from Deputy Governor. Deputy Governor, you do have two questions.
Mechanization too, we are doing very well there right now.
Okay, Deputy Governor, you do have two. You have a question of why you're going all the way to Niger State, and of course, the gap.
So,
and Mr. Banjoko is a farmer in Lagos, I think, so...
I don't know. So, but Mercy, you said that why are we going to Niger? So, understand one thing. If you plant rice, for example, in Ogun State or Osun State, your yield will be lower than Niger. You have different land. You understand? So, and also because you have that organized farmers already. So, what we do is we don't go there to farm. All we are saying is we guarantee that we buy from you. We buy from the farmers. So, and it has worked until the insurgency. So the challenge is, if you go to another state that is nearer, I'm not getting the volume that I need. So what I'm looking for is farmers that's ready to farm and give me the rice. So it's not a question of whether you are near me or not near me. When you buy that rice in Daleko, you don't care where it comes from. You just want good rice. So for me, what do I need? You understand? So it was easier. We've done with Kebbi State, dealing with and I said that we bought land in Ogun to actually do our own farming. So, but as of today, the yield in the southwest is lower than up north today. So it can get better, but today. But we don't want to wait till tomorrow because we have to feed today.
And the population is growing too.
The population is growing. So the second one was
the gap.
The gap. Well, are you actually talking about Lagos? I wanted to know, are you actually talking about Lagos? No. Okay, so I can only talk about Lagos. So, because there is no gap. Today, we have trained 14,149 young farmers. Our challenge, like I said, is we don't have the land. So if you go to Araga today, each of them, they have houses where they live, their family lives there, and they have, the challenge is the land is not enough. And, you know, hey, that's what nature gave us. Nature gave us, we are a very small state in terms of partnership. So, but what we do is, like people say, how do we process things? How do we make sure? So if you go to Imota today, it's not just a rice mill. You will see different small shops that we build there for people that can process things around rice. So how do we train them? So what we found out is that majority of these small business owners, agric-related, the businesses die within the first to second year for all sorts of reasons. So what we are trying to train them is, how do you even run a business? How do you keep your accounts? How do you manage your staff? How do you relate with government? So those type of relationships, and we have former executive. So the chairman of Lagos State Employment Trust Fund was former MD of Citibank, a woman, Ms. Adesha. So we have experienced people that have run business. So they mentor them, apart from giving grants or giving the 5% loan and so on, depending on your project. We also train people and mentor them, because it's not enough to just do business. How do you last long? How do you stay long? So we don't have issues like that in Lagos. We partner with our young farmers and all businesses. Now, in terms of multiple taxation, you see, we've heard this again and again. You will see in Lagos, there is a program we said, BOS Meet Business. We call it business. So I think you've been there before. We meet our businesses quarterly. Majority of the challenges, sometimes it's federal, so they will complain about custom. The last meeting we had, we actually brought custom. We brought CBN. We brought everybody to say, these are the complaints of businesses in Lagos. And some of this we can't solve because they are sovereign. So, and we brought them together. So remember, we have a constitution. The constitution has federal, state, and local government. So if you have a company in Lagos, that company tax doesn't come to Lagos. You understand? Even the payee says that if you live in Ogun and you work in Lagos, it's Ogun State. So we have those complications in our constitution that I can deal with. I didn't write the constitution. So, but within that, what we've said is this, it's simple. We have a ease of doing business committee. I chair it as the deputy governor. And what we do is this. On our website, these are the things you can pay. But these are the things that local government can take. The Constitution gives federal taxes, state taxes, and local government taxes. But what we have done is to make it easy, because there are different local governments. The Constitution allowed them to tax us, depending on what it is, right? But what we have done is, so that's why we have LASA, for example. They are supposed to collect advertisement. So, but you are in Oshodi, and then you get to Agege, somebody will say, you've not paid yours. So that's why we have LASA, for example, to aggregate everybody, so that you have only one license, and that across the state, nobody should challenge you. How we distribute it behind the scene for the local government is our business.
All right.
So that's what we've done in Lagos to make it easier and easier and easier.
All right, Deputy Governor. All right, so Osun State now, the issue of taxes, obviously, especially taxing crops and movement of it. And I know you would say there's no gap between the farmers and the government.
Absolutely. You know where I came from. So I am actually, like, even though I'm in the public sector, I'm a product of the private sector and of the farmers. I'm a farmer myself. So engaging them, it's not a problem. So in Osun, we do that from time to time. And I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility. We engage each and every one of them, from the, like I said, Cocoa Association, Cashew Association, Butchers Association, all of them. We engage them, because I believe everything starts from when you know their needs, and then you can now meet those needs. And I can tell you, the farmers in Osun State, they're happy, because this is a new dispensation, and they're happy. In the area of taxes, we are not there to punish the people. They voted for us. They elected us. We are their representatives. So we are mindful of all of that. Yes, we need to increase that IGR But then we do it knowing that there shouldn't be undue taxes or burden on the people.
All right.
People, as you know, things are already tough right now. So
yeah, we see the numbers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all the government people have spoken. Dr. Hassan, just parting words. We're out of time, but parting words. How do we handle this issue of insecurity in food supply in the country?
Well, I know the security forces are doing their best, but I can't see a situation whereby security men are posted to guide farmers to do their farming. We don't have those number of security forces at all. Because the number of policemen, let's say in Zamfara, there are no more than 5,000. And this is an area that covers about 38,000 square kilometers. They cannot man those farmers to do their farming for harvest and all that. So they should put their thinking cap and develop other scientific areas of getting at these bandits to flush them out of the area so that the farmers will have a peaceful environment to carry on their businesses. So guarding farmers, security men to farmers can never work. It's either they use drones to track them or to use what we call forward operation bases. Because the villages are far from each other. If there's any attack, before the military men or the police officer went there, the damage is done. But if you have FOBs, what we call forward operation bases, one FOB can take care of about 10 villages. So if there's any attack, they will hold on the attack pending when attack support will come from the headquarters. So the security forces should do much more than thinking that by guarding the farmers, protecting them to farm and harvest can solve the problem of security, food security in Nigeria.
All right, we need to put on our thinking caps. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you so much, Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security in Osun State, Otunba Tola Fasheru, and of course the security expert among us, Dr. Bala Hassan, former AIG Zone 2, covering Lagos and Ogun State, and our host here, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kadri Hamzat, and all the way from Kaduna State. We appreciate your time here, Dr. Tala Dabo, Commissioner of Agriculture in Kaduna State.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.